Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name is Serge.
My name is James.
And we've been playing a bit of Champ Man FPL, so I think we can safely say the world revolves around Fantasy Premier League, even though there's so much other stuff going on right now. How are you, James?
I'm all right, my friend. Yourself? How's your Easter
Monday?
weekend?
Easter Monday. It's been all right, to be fair. The weather's been a bit up and down, pretty decent for the bulk of it. This 4-day weekend is always a funny one. Just getting used to it's a weekend that never ends, basically.
Wait,
you've
been working.
Yeah, I've been doing bits and pieces throughout, to be honest with you.
I'm sitting here just doing podcasting, so I don't really know what weekend it is, mate. I spoke to my dad Saturday, and he goes, "Should have been playing Everton now," and I'm like,
"Yeah,
is it?" Like, I
I have no idea.
Really didn't even know.
Yeah, and instead you were playing Sunderland away.
Yeah.
Nice 4-1 victory.
Yeah, we bashed up Sunderland, mate. Everson, Sheringham, Ferdinand, all on the score sheet. Some people are going to think, what are you talking about?
And we'll talk about that in a sec. Stay tuned if you are just tuning in for the first time or you haven't heard much about Champ Man, because we will be talking a little bit about Champ Manager FPL in a little while. We have a lot to cover off today, James. We'll have a little bit of discussion around some news that's come out in the last few days from Scotland and how they are potentially planning to resolve the end of the season and what implications that could have, because it's unorthodox, I think is one way of putting it. We've got a little bit of chat about our friend Harrison Kane, who has been in the news, but I don't think we need to talk. Harrison. I'm sure his christened name's Harrison. I bet it is.
No, I'm not sure about that, mate.
Right.
My son's not called Harrison, mate. He's called Harry.
We also have a little bit of chat about what else was what we're talking about today. Harry Kane, Championship Manager, Scotland. The players have all come out, and Players Together has happened since our last main podcast. A lot of announcements around that. And then Spurs have obviously announced today news around furloughing players. We actually have a couple of questions in the Twitter queues that we're going to get to as well around furloughing of players and our thoughts around that. So we'll be able to talk about that as well in a little bit more detail and what have you. Plenty fun-packed. I think people might even get a full 90 minutes out of us, maybe even a little bit of added Fergie time as well. You never know.
Oh, really?
You never know.
Let's just power into stuff, mate.
I think we should start with Harry Kane first, and I'll tell you why, because I think it's a very quick, simple, easy conversation.
Go on then.
I think people are bored. I think this is a news article that stems from boredom.
This news article stems from the Instagram video with Jamie Redknapp a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, see, that was what you just said. It was 2 weeks ago. It was ages ago.
That's it. People have got nothing to talk about, mate. How many times can you recite about like Jadon Sancho and that? My opinion. Go on.
I don't think that what I'm saying by saying that it's just media hype at the moment is not saying that I don't think Harry Kane will leave. I think there's every chance Harry Kane for £200 million could leave, but there's no more chance than there was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I don't think anything has happened since that interview or even before to have made it more likely that he might need to leave. I don't think financially Spurs are under any more pressure than they were 2 weeks ago or anything like that.
You're spot on. Let's be real here. If Spurs do receive a bid of 200 million, then there's every chance they're going to go, that's a fifth of the stadium.
Take it.
And we spoke a couple of weeks ago about the value of Kane and what would Spurs accept. And, you were saying maybe 120, and I laughed at you. I said, there's no way Spurs will accept that money. Anything sub 150 million at 26 years of age, they are not going to accept. So my question would be, who in the fuck is going to pay 200 million for a striker who's regularly picking up injuries at the moment?
I wouldn't pay.
It's not going to happen.
My valuation at 120 was the lower end of the minimum Spurs could accept. But I also think what you're saying at 150 is the top end of what Spurs can accept based on his recent injury record and age and what have you. So yeah, I think that's the bracket. Now 200, I don't see. Stranger things have happened. You look at what PSG paid for Neymar and what have you. Manchester United have a lot of money. They're about to spend almost like, let's say, 2/3 of that on a 19-year-old Jadon Sancho. But Jadon Sancho at 120 million is better value than Harry Kane at 200 million, in my opinion, because of the years ahead.
Is he?
Yeah, the future potential.
No, you know what a fit Harry Kane will do in this league. There's
Yeah,
no doubt about
we
that.
don't know yet what a fit Jadon Sancho could do.
He wouldn't be the first amazing 19-year-old who went on to do not a lot.
No, but if he became a carbon copy of what Raheem Sterling has achieved, for example, then he's worth all that money. I mean, Raheem Sterling was bought for, admittedly, a few years ago, 50 million, but it was quite a few years ago.
But there were contract issues on that with Liverpool at the time. I mean,
prices
only had 18 months left or so, or a year.
I mean, Kane's still got 4 years left, right, from my understanding. He signed a 6-year in 2018, so he's still got a long time left on that contract.
There's no pressure on Spurs from that perspective. I'm really not worried about Spurs and the financials and stuff. I just think that with the furloughing stuff, Spurs just reacted very irresponsibly to it. It looks like, by the way, it's worth saying, they're still going to take the government money.
Yeah.
So it's not all like roses and stuff.
Are they just topping up the additional 20%?
Essentially, that's. I mean, Spurs haven't said anything in the statement today that says we're not applying for government money now. It looks like that they are. You know how Levy is. If he can get free money, he'll take it. He's not worried about the ethics and what people are thinking. The fact that it's taken them 2 weeks to overturn the original decision on the staff is a shambles, mate. Because every time they put a social media post out, you had to look through the comments. Pay the staff, pay the staff, pay the staff. And this is coming from Spurs. It's coming from Spurs fans, not from other fans, saying like, what are you doing? It's embarrassing. And so there's no thank you or well done. They shouldn't have put themselves in this position in the first place. But I don't think the club's in a position where they have to be selling Kane. And what they've got to realise, and what's different with Kane to, I don't know, let's say Barcelona wanted to give him the money back on Ndombele, or 100 million came in for Ali or something. Kane is a different breed in terms of what it means impact-wise to the supporters. So, like, if the club sell Kane for 150 million, a lot of people are going to be pissed off. Because my argument is, what are you going to do with that 150 million to replace him? It doesn't get you fuck all now, right?
No.
You've already got one of the best strikers in the world. I think at 200 million, there were even supporters would go, wow, that's monstrous. And it's a different conversation then, particularly under the current climate. But I believe that Spurs would never instigate trying to sell Kane. It would only come from Kane going, I want to leave. And I think Spurs fans are coming around to the idea from what he did say a couple of weeks ago that, yeah, if it's still shit in 12 months, there's every chance this is a different conversation you want to go. And if that is the case, I'm telling you, a lot of Spurs fans will go, yeah, H, you've got to go. As much as they'll be unhappy about it, they'll see from his perspective that he can't be going 2 years without Champions League football and that kind of thing. So it's not a conversation at the moment. I think Spurs fans are coming to a realisation that it might be in 12 months or so, but it's not at the moment, in my opinion.
Let's move on to a little bit more of a serious conversation, and then we'll bring it back to a little bit more fun with the old champ manager stuff. But Scotland now. Scotland, a lot of our regular listeners may not be keeping in touch with what's happening in Scottish football as much as maybe the Premier League and some of the other better followed leagues in Europe. But there's all sorts happening in the Scottish League now, with the potential that the season could be wrapped up imminently.
It seems to come on quite suddenly that I didn't even know that this supposed vote was happening. And now there's all sorts come out of this vote in terms of what the repercussions are. There's integrity of the SPFL, Scottish Premier Football League associations being called into question. There's this vote of Dundee, which they reckon they submitted, but the SPFL are saying that Dundee submitted the vote and then said, please don't count us. Rangers are saying that they've got evidence of wrongdoing from within the SPFL that's going to blow everything up in the air in terms of corruption and stuff. But the SPFL have come back quite strongly and said, well, if you've got a whistleblower or something, bring it forward. Let us know.
Yes.
And I guess now we're waiting on Rangers and we're waiting on Dundee, because the proposal essentially through this vote is, my understanding was, there was 6 options given out for a potential vote in terms of what to do with the season. But there's some that are saying, I think the lady who's chairwoman at Hearts has said basically the way it was written to people was that to vote for a completely voided season would mean you're going to get your money now for final league positions. And the problem seems to be that the clubs who've got nothing to play for, etc., are in fear for their financial future. And if they don't get that money, they're worried about what's happening. So if they're sitting there 7th in the Scottish Championship, they're just going, yeah, void it, give us the money, like we need it.
So
a lot of people have been put into fear over that, basically.
And there is a little bit of concern around double standards for some of the bigger clubs here as well. So they had all of the clubs in the Premiership, Championship, and the 2 leagues below were able to vote in a vote that was put forward on how to end or what to do next with the Scottish season. And they needed a certain number of votes for whichever proposal was put forward to pass, which hasn't passed yet. It's good to add. But the majority of votes, I think it was 10-2 in the Premier League, 9-2 in the Championship, and whatever the ratios were in League One and League Two, were to end the season now, not for the Premiership, but Premier League, but for the other leagues, to end the season now based on a points per game calculation. So divide the points by the number of games you played. The reality is, I don't think it would make a massive difference in terms of league positions and what have you. But that ends the season now. However, there wouldn't be any relegation or promotion. So Dundee would stay at the top of the Championship, and
Dundee United.
United, sorry.
Yeah,
I should. United would stay at the top of the Championship, and Hearts would stay in the Premier League for next season.
No, my understanding is Hearts would go down, mate.
Oh, was it a case of if they completed the season, then the relegation and promotion would happen?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
No, I think it's now, even if it. My
right.
understanding is even if it gets voided. So say they don't complete any football in Scotland and they just void it as of right now, Hearts will get relegated.
Right.
That's my understanding.
So they're only 4 points off relegation, whereas Rangers, Celtic are a good 13 points clear. But nothing is mathematically done, right? Nothing is mathematically certain. But now Dundee, the chairman of Dundee, has the final vote. And his vote pushes the ratios over the edge where he could say, yeah, we void the season, or we go on a points per game ratio or what have you. So his vote could effectively not promote Dundee United. That's like Daniel Levy having a vote to say whether or not Arsenal would end up winning the league or...
I think it's a little different though, because I mean, at some point Dundee United will get back in the Scottish Premier League. They're, established wise, certainly in the top 8, let's say, of Scottish clubs, if not the top 6. So at some point they'll get back in. They'll probably get back in. I think it's more, the concern is there's some sort of external pressure on Dundee, which they're worried about. And that's why Rangers have come in so hard on this. When I think I had a great DM, I'd like to thank Laura at the Laura Lothian, who sent me some DMs last night. She's a Rangers fan. And she was saying, everybody knows Celtic are going to win the league, right?
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah. Rangers are not doing it to try and get themselves any advantage.
One of the fears in terms of voiding the season as well is a similar threat to what's happened in Belgium, where when Belgium announced that they were going to void their season, UEFA went, well, if you do that, you ain't coming into Europe. That was the threat that was given.
Scotland have a big... I think all of the leagues in Europe, from what I've read, are actually concerned that that's a real, genuine concern. If they don't complete their seasons, they don't know if their clubs will be allowed into the Europa League and Champions League next year.
Well, I mean, Rangers and Celtic generally go in and come out as quickly as they go in, but it's crucial for them to, if Celtic can try and get through that group stage, the qualifiers to get to the group stage, financially it's huge for them. So it's not even necessarily, I don't know, really in Celtic's advantage for it to be voided off. They're going to be better off finishing the season if that's the possible threat that comes from UEFA, because they can't really afford to be doing without that money. And obviously Rangers, in fairness, did have a really good run to in Europa League this year to get to the knockout stages. So those two particularly need Europe. And obviously, everybody else needs Rangers and Celtic to be happy, basically.
The concern is there around, obviously, it's not a concern, but Hearts you would consider as one of the bigger clubs in Scotland, and they're sitting pretty at the bottom of the table right now. So for Hearts to get relegated would be surprising, I suppose, but also they'll probably come back up just as quickly as they're going to go down. And it has happened with many other clubs that you might consider bigger clubs. So it is what it is. But as it stands right now, I don't understand the concept of you've got a 5 o'clock deadline for a vote, but not everyone has voted in time. So then what was the point in the deadline of the vote? And the resolution is valid for 4 weeks or something along those lines. So even if it gets voted for, they don't have to ratify this decision for another 4 weeks, which means the Premier League, Scottish Premier League, has another 4 weeks to decide whether they're going to say, yes, sod it, points per game, or something will happen that will allow them to finish it. But that's only for the Premier League. The other leagues, if this vote gets passed, the other leagues are done and dusted. Thank you very much. No chance of completing the season. But the Premier League still has another 4 weeks in Scotland to get completed.
The suggestion now is that Dundee has said, well, if that's the case, we're going to take 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So what was the point?
Why wouldn't you?
What was the point?
That's what I'm saying. There's a 5 o'clock deadline last Friday for who and what. And 41 out of 42 people have voted. It's one team that haven't voted. It doesn't seem
well,
very
I think that's
sensible.
what I said previously was the panic was that if this all got passed off now, then these clubs were going to get their final league position payment, which in comparison to English Premier League terms is a pittance. We're talking about 1.5 million or something. But for a lot of these clubs, it's a monstrous amount of money that will do the running costs, etc., for the next few months. So I think essentially the SPFL, it looks to me like, have made everybody panic.
Yeah.
And in 3 weeks, it's hard to foresee at the moment, but the circumstance of where we're in currently might be completely different. And we might even be in a position where in June we're playing football. So I don't understand it. And that's what does lead me to think something is wrong at the core of this somewhere.
So why are they rushing? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, something's going to come out in the wash, I think. It's just, something's not right. It smells funny from a distance. And I must confess, I don't really watch any Scottish football anymore. It's not like 20 years ago when them Celtic Rangers games were the biggest games in Britain. They were bigger than United Liverpool, United Arsenal, and that those Rangers Celtic teams in the late 90s. They were huge games. They had to be watched. I couldn't give a toss if I never watched another one at the moment, and I certainly wouldn't bother to watch Rangers or Celtic when I wouldn't go out of my way to watch them when they're playing somebody else. It's the sort of thing they'll play at 12 o'clock on a Sunday and it's sitting on mute in the background while I'm like looking through social media or something. That's as close as I get to it now.
Yeah. It leads us on to a little bit of a chat. We normally start the show thinking about coronavirus and where everybody's up to and what the state of play is with the English game and when we think things will be resumed and what have you. And touch wood to all our listeners that you're all staying safe. And if you do have come across anyone that's affected or been infected with coronavirus, that they pull through as best you can at the moment, because it is a difficult time. I had a few conversations with people in different spaces. I've got a couple of mates in banking, finance, business, politics, all that kind of stuff. A few conversations in the last week that have led me to believe, I think, that we're now looking to come out of lockdown by the middle of May. The second week of May, we'll be coming out of lockdown. And I saw a tweet that went out from ESPN all of about half an hour ago saying that English clubs, they're looking at start date of the 6th of June or the first weekend in June to resume football in England. And that was what prior to me seeing that tweet, I was going to put it out there that I really think second week of May to come out of lockdown and first weekend in June, realistically, to start football again wouldn't surprise me, which would then give us an ample 7-8 weeks to the end of July to finish the season. That's what I can see happening now. I don't know if you've had any kind of thoughts on what you see happening.
I think in terms of calendars, we'll not spoil too much on tomorrow's People's Poll on what's happening in Spain and stuff. But it seems to be a suggestion, I think, particularly out of Italy and Germany at the moment, that there's 3 dates in mind, and the latest one appears to be, I think, June the 28th. And I think that's that's beginning to sound like a date, which is this football season's doomsday date. Whereas if nobody's played football by that date, then there's a chance that seasons won't be completed. I think it sounds like from journalists in the know, etc., there was a suggestion that the European calendar, be it the Champions League and the Europa League, will be completed over a 2-3 week period in August.
With everyone in the same place and in kind of hotels and stuff.
A little bit like, at the end of your usual calendar year, national teams would go and play in the World Cup, for example. They'd have a shortened summer break, and then the new season starts. And then I guess you're potentially looking at new season then starting in September. That seems to be what the plan and the aim is for. I still think, it's nice to hear you say that, I still think that's all incredibly ambitious. I've also heard someone say that one of the suggestions, certainly in this country, is that nobody will be going in a football stadium until 2021.
That's quite possible. The USA are talking about no mass gatherings the rest of this calendar year. And it's interesting that a lot of the kind of decisions or thoughts behind the decisions and suggestions that a few people have made to me, not many are made of medical advice. Most are based on things to do with psychology and the economy. So the government already know that people are suffering with non-coronavirus related issues. I've got a few friends that live towards Harrow. There's a big hospital up there, Norfolk Park Hospital, that's been one of the busiest with coronavirus and has been affected massively with the most deaths as well. Now, 6 children died at Norfolk Park Hospital in the last week from non-coronavirus related illnesses where parents hadn't taken children into hospital early enough because they were scared about coronavirus, but the kids died of other issues. There's issues around how mentally people will cope with more than another month on lockdown before they're actually going to start going mad. And I've already seen a bunch of madness. There was somebody outside at my neighbour's house across the road who, there's a 60-year-old couple yesterday, a woman who was absolutely drunk as a skunk trying to get into the house thinking it was her own house, shouting the street down for 2 or 3 hours. Honestly, 2 or 3 hours, but no one wanted to approach her because who wants to get within a meter's distance of anyone right now? So and it took the cops an hour to come down and sort this situation out. You've got, in America, they printed $3 trillion keep the economy afloat, which they reckon is going to last them 6 to 8 weeks. When 6 to 8 weeks comes around, they're not going to let them print any more money. The guys who are the traders and manage the markets are not going to let them print any more money. So
why
at that
not?
point, well,
I mean, you're the finance expert. Just tell me why not.
Right now, you've got a tenner in your pocket, right? And say there's 10 million pounds that exist. Your tenner is one of 10 million pounds. Right? If they print another 3 million, your tenner is suddenly a tenner out of 13 million pounds. If they print another 3 million, your tenner is now a tenner out of 16 million pounds. So whilst your tenner is still worth a tenner, it's worth a smaller percentage of what the economy is worth. And so these guys that own stocks and shares and trade, like I'm not a trader myself, but the percentage of the value of the money is less in proportion to how much money there is. And this money doesn't exist. It's all zeros on a computer. But the consensus is that they won't let governments keep printing more and more and more money. So the only way to solve the economic issue is then to open the economy up and get people back to work and try and get things moving again. So all the things I've just mentioned to you, the one thing that I said at the start is not one of them is really a medical, like coronavirus medical-based decision. And we talked about Spain, and we can touch on it a little bit to give a little plug to tomorrow's People's Poll when we go into more detail. The wheels are in motion to open Spain up again because they've had a couple of days of better results. Like, it just seems bonkers to me. Like, once you've got 2 days of better results, the way I can put it is a football analogy, right? You're playing Manchester United, the best Manchester United team in the late 90s, the early 2000s. You're losing 3-0 after 20 minutes because they've just battered you. So it's 3-0, 20 minutes to go. And then you have a 5-minute spell where you're on top. Suddenly you create a few extra chances. So you take off one of your central defenders and put another striker on because you think you're doing well in that 5-minute window, knowing that Manchester United have already battered you 3-0 in the first 20, are probably going to punch you 3 times as hard in the next 60. It doesn't make sense to make that change, does it?
No.
That's the way I see the situation. They've got a glimmer of hope where they've managed to get one glove on it.
Isn't that what's going to happen here?
Probably.
The second we spoke about this. Well, actually, I was speaking about it with Lee and Sam off camera when we recorded for their stream on Friday night. And one of the things I was saying, like, is my fears is we'll get to the flat, and we'll be like, okay, this is cool, let's go again. Do we not need to be like here before we do anything?
Significantly better, yeah.
And for those not on YouTube, I'm pointing
downwards, and not just like 1 or 2 days. Like, let's have 4, 5, 6, 7 days of results before we start getting excited or look for a pattern or a trend. So, we're getting a little bit serious there, but that's the kind of thoughts around it at the moment. I think there may be decisions around opening up the country that are not medical-based decisions around coronavirus, more around people's mental health and the economy and stuff. But then if you're going to open up football, they'll test all the players. They'll keep them in very restricted environments. I mean, all on a training camp or what have you. The Spurs guys will be all right. You've got a 5-star hotel on your training campus. Ours are porta cabin, so our players are screwed.
We can definitely trust our footballers to do the right thing and stay within the confinements of rules, don't we, Jack Grealish, Cole?
Maybe that leads us on to a chat about this players standing together and coming together. They just had to be given a little bit of time to organise themselves.
Yeah, I was really vocal on, like, give them a chance.
Yeah.
I absolutely knew that they would do something. I also think one of the things that's not been said enough about it is it absolutely is a middle finger, and quite rightly, by the way, to the clubs that they all play for as well.
Correct.
So, okay, this is what we're going to do as players to show that we're not arseholes. We're going to put this money together between us straight to the people who need it most, not our bosses to then waste it, etc. So where I said a couple of weeks ago that I thought Daniel Levy was probably playing poker a little bit to try and get his staff to take pay cuts. And again, we'll talk about this more with Barcelona tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's backfired somewhat because the players have gone, yeah, all right, we're going to give some of our wages. It ain't going to you, though.
Yeah.
And players don't own the club's loyalty.
You're right.
They don't. Those days are gone. Mm. So players would rather help the people that need it most. They know we've spoken about is about short careers and whatnots. And their short career includes the fact that come 2021, might be playing for a different football club. So they don't own their employers as such. Don't forget as well, one of the things we talk about is like contracts and players going out of contracts. But part of the thing is, like, football contracts are very different to a real work-life contract. You are essentially, and this is going to sound very extreme, imprisoned into playing for that football club for the time of your contract, unless an agreement is reached where with another football club and you're transferred. So these guys are in lockdown into their contracts. They can't go and leave and play for someone else right now.
No.
Go to another employer. So they're just not going to... Listen, most people hate their bosses, right? Don't take this the wrong way, Suj. But most people hate their bosses, right? Yeah. Why do they want to give their boss money? Yeah. It's not how it works.
Mm. Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. But we will talk a little bit more about that and the Spain situation in the People's Poll that you'll be able to catch tomorrow. There's a lot going on in Spain at the moment, so it'll be definitely an interesting conversation to have. Let's talk a little bit about Champ Manager. And before we do, why don't you give a little plug? Because obviously, whilst I've still had to struggle into work, you have been working hard, getting an incredible amount of content out for all of the fans and the listeners and what have you. Give them a plug for what you've done in the last few days and what is to come. I've had a listen to the first half of The Road to Madrid.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely did. I like the fact that you and Sam at the start were sure there was only the road to Madrid and not Madrid itself.
Yeah, Madrid gets included in part two.
I'm looking forward to that more than anything else.
I mean, we talked about...
I put a tweet out. When I tweeted it, I was like, I was going to tweet at Lee, book my appearance in for 2035 when West Ham get to the Champions League final. And then I thought, probably not going to happen by 2035, so never going to happen. But yeah, I did, and I'm looking forward to the second half as well because that was really good.
Yes, so I sat down with Lee and Sam, and we ended up talking for about 3 hours actually, about an hour off camera, which is having to catch up about. They're great guys, Lee and Sam from FPL Family. So broke it into two halves. One's already available on their podcast and their YouTube. It's basically the group stage to the quarterfinals of last year's Champions League. Lee supports Liverpool. Sam supports Spurs. Obviously, I'm Spurs. And next Saturday, they're going to release part 2, which is the semi-finals and the final. We do talk about the semis more than the final because the semis were ridiculous, right? So there's a lot of stuff in there about my feelings in Amsterdam and whatnot, which I think people will like. I'm going on the Wolfpack. I don't think it'll be released tomorrow night, but they're doing a quiz. I'm going on that. And I know their boys are shitting themselves about me coming on.
Come on, represent.
Yeah, they don't want to get shown up, right? I think they'll probably get released Wednesday. And I'll be on the Wildcats YouTube stream on Thursday, which I think is a quiz as well. So I'm guessing on shit. And obviously, Champman, FPL, these streams are getting quite popular, mate. Yeah,
for sure. I'm looking forward to all of that stuff. I'm a big fan of the Wildcats as well. I think their show's really good. So yeah, it do represent Planet FPL as you do. We're featured on our friend Paddy's little video with the Keepy Uppies.
Oh yeah,
giving him a shout out as well.
Yeah, good old Paddy, the Fantasy King too. Everybody's seen you Morris dancing, Such.
Yeah, amusing. You know, I tried to give you stick back with all the bloopers on my phone. But
they're rubbish, aren't they?
Yeah. What, you know, when you look back at it, you think, why? I have no reason why I didn't use my left foot. Like, if you say, why didn't you bother with your left foot? I'm like, I tell you why, and you're the same, right? What people think is, oh, just switch your camera on, do a few Keepy Uppies, off you go. My 7-year-old was the one who was filming me, and my 6-year-old was throwing me the ball. So it was probably the 30th or 40th attempt to get it right because he'd chucking the ball at my head, chucking it at my chest. 6-year-old's just not good at lobbing a ball in. I hit my next door neighbour's first floor window. So there's more bloopers of me probably than yours. You had your missus throwing the ball in. But yeah, it's not as straightforward as lob a ball in and do a few Keepy Uppies, unfortunately. But we'll get a penalty shootout on the go. I'm looking forward to that one. Lee
from Family has agreed he will
get
his Sunday codes and he will come in goal. And when we're all up and ready and we can go out, we're going to 100%. Find somewhere. We are doing that penalty shootout, mate.
Excited for that one.
People need to see it, mate. It will be the best football content that people see between now and 2021. We might even be able to get a crowd.
Probably. we'll put the location in. Do you know what? I think Sham from Two Guys One Cup wanted to be in goal if Lee wasn't up for it. We might even need a reserve goalkeeper.
He's too short though, isn't he?
Sorry, yeah, Sham. Maybe. I think he's similar height to Lee, mate. To be honest with you, not sure. Maybe we'll see.
Everyone looks tall to me, mate.
So let's talk about Champman because the streams are going well. I'll be honest with you. I've started getting a little bit more. I'm understanding it a little bit more because I'm coming at it from never played Championship Manager. Anyone, let alone 2001-2, like never played Champ Manager. So starting to understand a little bit more about the scoring. Had a bad weekend, 42 points with a blank from Jason Wilcox. Shearer got me returns, Ian Hart got me returns, and that was pretty much it for me. However, I don't feel too disheartened with my team. I've still got Schmeichel and Hislop in goal. Like Schmeichel, yes, no, but did you see Peter Schmeichel tweeted about Champ Manager FPL a little while ago as well? Yes. So he has no idea what he's talking about, but he did get involved.
But Alan Maybury, who played for Leeds, knew what was going on. I think his brother's playing, I think.
Oh, fair play.
Yeah.
So I'm all right with Hislop in goal. Ian Hart is a must now because of his ownership is so high. Melberg and William Gallas are also all right for me as well. I've just got an issue around Konchesky and Unsworth. Not happy with those two. My midfield is shot. Veron and Wilcox, I'm happy to keep. But then Frank Lampard isn't doing anything. Kevin Nolan isn't doing anything. And Gillespie isn't doing anything. I don't mind my front three. Thierry Henry, Alan Shearer and Canute.
Yeah, that's all right.
I don't think it's too... But like, It wasn't a great week, but I also don't feel like it's panic stations. Let's tear the whole thing apart, which it might have been 2 weeks
you're
ago.
still in the top 1,000 just about.
Yeah. I'm 70 points off you, which ain't bad. Which is like,
it's quite
you're
sizable.
45 off.
It's quite sizable after 4 game weeks, mate.
Yeah, sure, but you're 52nd, if I'm right.
I'm in the 50 somethings.
Yeah, so there's 70 points from 900 to 50. There's 40 points from you to top.
Yeah, we'll catch that.
Just under half.
Yeah,
I'm not too worried. I'd listened to Luke and Scout. They did a little bit of a video, and he's a bit of a champ manager geek. He loves the game itself.
Luke's on at this,
I enjoyed that as well because it helped me understand a little bit more about Championship Manager more than anything else, how the simulations work, and things like Veron is still a good asset to own despite not doing a lot and that kind of thing.
But did you watch Andy and Dave's stream last night?
Not yet. I started.
That's what you need to watch.
I started the first 5 minutes, and then then I saw the tweet said start at 5 minutes because the first 5 minutes we're just figuring out how YouTube streaming works. But I'm going to watch that today. So yeah, now I'm absorbing everybody else's kind of content around Champ Manager. I think we'll start making some moves. Not ready to work hard yet.
I don't know what I'm doing yet. One of the big things in the community is what to do with those who've still got Veron. And obviously you got Boa Morte scored a hat-trick and an assist at the weekend. 1% of players actually captained him.
Including Luke, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Which was, Boa Morte's captain return was similar to the overall average, I think.
Wow.
So the 1% who've done that have had a stormer, whereas most other people, obviously investment for Charlton last week was off the scale. Basically 40% of the game basically bought Jason Wilcox, which is mad. His ownership went from like nothing to about 40%, the third highest in the game in the space of one transfer window.
I tell you what, I was thinking about Wilcox. Like if you had a £5.5 million rated midfielder in regular FPL, I'm trying to think of a decent example. Who's 5.5? Like Adama Traore, for example.
Yeah.
If he had a week where he scored 2 goals and an assist and had a double the next week, you still probably wouldn't think about captaining a £5.5 million midfielder. Yeah,
you captain Jimenez. It's not a brilliant comparison.
Exactly. No, but then you captain Jason Ewell and he got you a return.
I captained a forward.
So that's the comparison. I'm like, I wouldn't captain a £5.5 million midfielder in a double game week in regular FPL. Okay, why did I do it in Champ Manager?
I agree. I mean, when I started my stream on Saturday, I opened up by saying, "Welcome to the game week, not sponsored by Shane Duffy," as a little bit of a reminder to what happened to all those who captains the Brighton centre half last year.
Yeah,
and I was kind of digging in and saying, you really should be on sort of like Yule Bartlett here was basically my opinion. Whichever one of I think General had gone for Bartlett and a lot of others did. And Bartlett and Yule's returns were very similar. But I didn't feel like midfielder, defensive. These guys weren't really worth captaining. And the problem is now, for Charlton, most people have probably got maybe 2 assets, I'd say, is sort of like an average. They now got a dog run of fixtures and they're shit. So now you've got to get rid. So I always knew, like with Yule, I want to come off. But the problem is, the easiest way for me to get off Yule, for example, is really I want to get up to Shearer, who you've got. I need to sell Veron probably. And that's a real big headache that a lot of people have got because all the information from the simulations is that this guy will go absolutely mental and it's just a matter of time. They've got Fulham at home this game week, so it doesn't feel like the right time to sell it.
No.
Then it gets a little bit more difficult. I think it's Sunderland away and Liverpool at home, which feels better timing-wise to sell him. But for me to get off Yule now, I've probably got to sell Veron or I'm selling Kjell and going down to sort of Ginola level or Norberto Solano. So I haven't quite decided what I'm doing yet. I might even buy the new Spurs signing, Suj. Stefan Selakovic, who...
£8 million though.
People going mad over him. And the guy's already running sims with what he does while he plays for Spurs and that. I say the guys, not the guys running the game, but people in the community. And he tears it up, mate. He gets like 14 odd goals as an 8 million midfielder and that. So... And Spurs have got good fixtures now following a good result in the last game week.
Yeah.
And I kind of want one. Everson and Rebrov just feel too expensive to me.
My problem is...
I might even go straight to him.
my problem is also midfield, where, like I said, I'm not happy with Lampard. I'm not happy with Nolan or Gillespie, but I also only have 1 million in the bank. So the move from Lampard to Harry Kewell was going to use 500,000 of my money, which I'm happy to do. I don't really have enough money to upgrade the other two. And Wilcox is obviously always a third or fourth midfielder. So if I went from Varane to an £8 million midfielder, I can upgrade one of the others to an £8 million midfielder. So Harry Kewell with this new guy at Spurs and maybe another £8 million midfielder seems better than Nolan and Kewell and Varane, potentially. But I know one of these days Varane's going to hurt us. I feel like he's like the KDB of, you own him and you just set and forget, because at some point he's just going to.
But I think he might be. Have you got him as well or not? Yeah, so it's more difficult for you though, because obviously you haven't got Van Nistelrooy. So there are.
But I've got Thierry Henry.
Yeah, I get that, but there are occasions where you're probably going to still go with Varane as captain. I'm never going to, at the moment, I'm not going to be picking Varane as captain over Van Nistelrooy. So it's a huge chunk of money sitting there. It's that old argument always you say about Mane and Salah, right?
Correct.
You have both. Are you ever actually going to have the cojones to captain Mane over Salah, particularly in the game at Anfield, for example? And it's similar to that. One of the issues I've got now is no matter what I do this week, my bench is going to look ropey. So I've got Keith Gillespie, who's gone out on loan, 4.5, so he's now away. I've got Richard Rufus, who's fine as like fifth defender to sit on the bench, but he's got Chelsea away this week. He's no use to me. And Kevin Nolan at 4.5 million doesn't look like he's going to do anything more than 2 pointers. And with the amount of rotation in this game, I need better than that. And again, it feels like sacrificing off Varane and ending up in a position where perhaps my fourth and midfielders are more like around, say, Ginola, Merson value, for example. And then I use them when I want to and when I don't want to. Feels like a better strategy to me. I think teams to target this week would be the main two, probably are Newcastle and Tottenham.
Tottenham are going to make a comeback. I was enjoying seeing you lot in the relegation zone, I'm not going to lie, but I don't think that's going to last for long now.
Mate, you've had 3 home games and you've lost them all.
Yeah.
It's not great, mate.
Nah. One of the things Luke was saying in this is that the game favours home teams more than it does away teams. Is that correct? Is that something that I should be taking into consideration?
Yeah, so I mean, one of my strategies generally is to try and, when I'm going into players, get into them in a home fixture. Like I went to Sami Hyypiä last week at home to Bolton. Now, Spurs are obviously away this week, but it does feel like the start of a good run because they have 4 home games straight afterwards. So it does feel like you're getting on at the start of the curve. Newcastle have a good home fixture this week. Arsenal also have a good home fixture, but it's the end of their home fixtures. They have 4 away fixtures in a row to come, but all winnable, admittedly. Villa are another one. They're at home to Sunderland. So if you're looking at one of the things I'm thinking is, like I said, if I come off Kewell, it might be a case to fund going to Shearer. I might go, say, Kewell to Ginola. But I think Ginola's a key player for Villa. And then I can use him this week, then bench him the other week. That probably means consecutive hits for me going that way. And I'd like to avoid them because there's so much randomness. But it's fun. People enjoying themselves so much. And I think people are getting a good nostalgia kick out of it. And everybody involved in the community is really helpful. It feels like the game's been built by people within the community, supported by people within the community, and being played by people just within the FPL community. Yeah. So that's why it's getting a lot of support, and that they had an article featured on the BBC website last week. It was incredible. So it's really taken off. It's really popular. I'm doing live streams every game week, Wednesday nights and Saturday afternoons, and I'm enjoying it, Suj. That's why I'm doing it. Enjoying it.
I've been dipping in and out of the live streams, obviously with the kids and all the rest of it over this weekend. It's hard to stay in for 2.5 hours, but I have been enjoying it and getting involved. And I now have a ritual with because I don't have notifications turned on for Twitter for a lot of accounts, to be honest, at all, because it's just too noisy. But when the matches start, I'll go onto the Champman account, hit the little bell, and then all the goals ping through. And then once we're done, I'll just ping the bell off, and it's perfect. It works exactly. So I'll just keep an eye on the goals as they're coming through.
What you were meant to be doing there is turn the notifications off and tune into James's stream. Well plugged for your own YouTube channel there, Suj.
Nah, yeah, I'm talking about me personally, where I can't sit for 2 hours on YouTube. Like, it's funny. It's hard for me to justify. Like watching football, she never gives me grief anyway. But I can say, I'm going to watch the game because there's a game happening. Saying I'm watching someone talk about a simulation of football, which is not actually happening, it's a bit of a harder sell. I'll be honest with you, mate. But
That's all right. It's understandable.
Yeah, for sure. We've got a few Champman questions in our Twitter questions, but we've got a lot of other stuff to talk about. And there's quite a few non-football related questions in amongst all of these as well. I'm quite keen to get through. There were very few that I was like, nah. So I'm quite keen to get through all of them if we possibly can, James. You up for that?
Yeah, but before you do, can I ask you?
Yes.
We had the brilliant Tom Campbell guest in as our quiz host last Wednesday.
Correct.
Did you see his tweet from Friday?
I did not. Well, I've seen quite a lot of his tweets. I didn't know which one you're talking about. So the fact that I haven't...
Mr. Tom Campbell at Utley TC sent a tweet out, which let's just say was a little bit popular. Don't go looking for it.
Oh, okay, fine. Sorry.
Because I was going to ask you. So I'm going to read this tweet out. So he's tweeted on Friday, my wife threw my new football over the wall.
I saw that
it belonged to our neighbour's 9-year-old lad. I've had to ask them if I can please have my ball back. I'm 36 years old.
I did see that.
How many retweets has that tweet had?
Ooh, I mean, Tom's got about 10,000 followers, isn't he, from memory?
Yeah, 12,000, I think.
I'm going to go with like 400, maybe something ridiculous like that. I don't know.
It's had 24,000 retweets.
What?
How many likes has it had?
If it's had 24,000 retweets, like 80,000 or something.
260,000.
Tom, if you're listening, stick the quiz as your pinned tweet, will you, mate? Come on, give us a help. We need a few listeners, mate. So, come on, it's marketing. It's all marketing.
Blinding. Well done,
Nice
Tom. That is class.
Let's see that tweet. But I saw it on Saturday morning, or I saw it early. I didn't realise that it exploded and gone that viral.
Went mental,
afterwards.
yeah. There's news outlets and that have picked up on it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I tell you what, it just goes to show that good content is good content. But my little kids, 6 and 7, are quite funny. They'll run around the garden doing dumb stuff and then said, it's going to go viral. It's going to go viral. They don't even have a concept of what going viral means. And people try and create stuff that they think is going to go viral. If you're good enough, it will do it by itself.
Yeah, it's the simple things.
And my man deserves it.
To be honest, the annoying thing for me is, we love Tom. I'm 36, right? And and who volleyed the ball over the fence last week, Sid?
It was you.
Me.
Fantastic. Oh, fantastic. Good fun. Let's have a look at some of these Twitter questions. Let's start with the one and only Tom Campbell at Utley TC, who sent the question in.
Plug the guy.
And I've already got an answer for this because I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. What totally trivial thing are you guys really looking forward to being able to do and see once the lockdown is finished?
We've already mentioned like pub and beer and that, didn't we? So I'm tempted to say food.
I'm worried. So there's certain foods where when you don't eat them for a long time and then you eat them again, they never taste like they did before, especially sweet stuff. If you ever try and go off sugar for any period of time, when you come back and eat a chocolate bar or an ice cream or something, you're like, how sweet is this? It's like ridiculously sweet. You don't realize when you eat it every day. I'm really worried that I'm not going to like the taste of a Big Mac. I'm worried it's just not going to, I'm going to be like, this is, because it is garbage.
What would Jamal Lascelles say to that?
I don't know, but I'm 100% aware that Big Macs are garbage. And now I'm worried that I've not
I might realise it.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about after lockdown. So it's not something I'm looking forward to, but I am worried. I'm looking forward to eating a Big Mac, but I am a little worried, Tom, that it's going to not taste so good.
I think, it's the trivial things of food that you can't have at the moment. I think that's the everyday shit that you just take for granted. Isn't it? The crap stuff like, I'll go in a shit cafe and get a bacon sandwich and a coffee in the morning because I can. Yeah. And I can have a bacon sandwich and a coffee. Yeah, it's no problem. But I've made
not the same.
It's just, I want someone else to do it.
Yeah. So, it's getting a Big Mac, but I'm also a little scared when I get round to doing it. So, Yeah, our friend Adam P at 35Who, he put a tweet, he asked a question, but it's one for a people's poll in the future. If we were, and I actually don't want to answer this. So he said, put together a 20-team European Super League accounting for history, recent performance, geographical spread, marketing potential. I.e., if there was a breakaway league of 20 teams in Europe, who would be in it? And I don't want to answer it because I don't want to even entertain the idea that there could ever be a European Super League. Because
I mean, that's you know my opinion on it. It's the worst thing that could possibly happen to football, other than a global pandemic. But should we stick it in the vote for next week then?
I'm up for that in the people's poll, no problem at all. But it's a bit of a long one for today.
While you've mentioned Adam, we've got an article from Adam as well, which will get posted this week.
Oh, fantastic!
Something a little bit nostalgic for the Gooners out there.
Oh, nice. Yeah. We have been a little light on the ground with articles, so that'd be nice for people to have a read whilst they're on the bog or whatever.
People ain't meant to be working. I realise we're not paying them, Suj, but they're not meant to be working.
That's true. We've got a question coming in from Amber Redmond. Amber, hope you're well in Ipswich Town. This is another serious one, James. Another serious one.
What, from Amber?
Correct.
Oh, God.
I'd like to know who will be responsible for doing the sex talk to your children once they're old enough. Will you step up or leave it to Mrs. James and Mrs. Surge?
No, I'll definitely do it.
Yeah, well, I've got boys and you've got a boy.
I'll definitely do it. She can't be trusted, that sort of thing.
If I had, and isn't that what Google and YouTube are for these days, mate?
I think he'd be searching for other things before he searches for Google and YouTube.
I'm like, mate, you know all this time that you've been talking about, why don't mum and dad have another baby? And we're nah. Because they don't know how they're made. Like, I spoke to my 6-year-old this morning. I was getting him ready, and I was telling, because my wife has got the big 40 this year. She's turning 40. And I was explaining to him, like, when you have a birthday that's got a 0 on the end, like 10, 20, 30, it's a big deal. It's a nice round number. And he's like, oh, she'll be 40. Will she have another baby then? I was like, where did that come from? Yeah, so he clearly hasn't had it yet. I think if you got boys, let dad do it. If you got girls, let mum do it. Simple as that. So
yeah, dad to girls a bit more awkward, I think.
Yeah. I think
it is for the kids, not so much for the dads.
No.
But boy to boy, yeah. I'll take that one on, no probs.
Yes. So me and James are going to be taking responsibility in. Mine are 6 and 7, so in about 20 years' time when they get around to it.
The giving him the chat about sex is probably going to be easier than the chat I talked to him about. Oh, I'm taking you to Spurs today. I'm about to ruin the rest of your life.
Oh dear. Right, Brad J FPL _mindset. I hope you're well, Brad. If all the Premier League captains all went on a drinking session together, who would last the longest and why? Also, who would get kicked out of the pub first for being too drunk, and who would get into a fight with a random punter?
Have you got any names? I did give this a little bit of thought.
I don't know. Who'd get drunk first?
I reckon Hugo.
Lloris.
It's a good shout, mate. And
I think he'd get in a fight.
The little shit at your place as well, Noble.
He's too nice. He's a Mr. Nice Guy, is Noble. I don't think he would harm a fly in a pub. He'd sit quietly in the corner. You know,
he'd get in a fight though, wouldn't he? As soon as people heard that trappy little voice that comes out of him, you'd think he's asking for it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe. Like, you couldn't go with any of the Spaniards or whatever because they're just too civilized. I mean, they don't drink or anything. It's like that European culture of that started with Wenger coming into English football. They're just too sensible. Who's club captain at Burnley?
Ben Mee.
Ben Mee. I was hoping it'd be Ashley Barnes because that'd be an easy one.
I think one we need to talk about in terms of who might last the longest.
Yeah.
Might go for your old mate Deeney, mate.
Yeah, he'd last. He'd go for it. He'd be definitely going for it.
I think Connor Cody at Wolves would be another one. That background being Scouse and that.
Yeah, I mean, apologies to everyone in Liverpool. We're not saying you're all alcoholics, but you know,
no,
he'd be able to last a while.
They know what I'm saying.
Jamal Lascelles, he'd do all right, wouldn't he? He's got a bit of body weight to soak up the booze.
Jamal's quite a beefy lad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's
There we
big
go.
tasty in himself, Jamal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Deeney, sorry to say, Suj.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who else, actually, I reckon could knock a few back. He's Højbjerg at Southampton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scandinavians only drink water, don't they? Because they're so intelligent and that. That's not true, is it?
Nah, probably not.
No.
They're just sensible with their drinking.
Is he Norwegian or is he Danish?
Højbjerg
It's Danish. He's Danish, isn't
Danish.
he? I've just offended a lot of people. Sorry.
Well, Denmark is Scandinavia.
Yeah, but I said
you
Norway
said
first, didn't I?
There we go. Morpheus Fire here. How you doing, mate? Harry Kane leaving. How ridiculous the rumours. Well, we've answered that. I wouldn't say
It's not
they're
ridiculous. It gives someone.
It's just
something to talk
someone's
about.
bored.
Yeah.
It's just someone's bored. We've got a Champman FPL scout asking a question. Just wanted your thoughts and memories on Mido due to how hilarious he was when he came to Barnsley at the end of his career. And do you have any memories of any games against Barnsley, not mentioning the Ginola solo goal? I never saw Barnsley at West Ham, so I can't comment on that at all. The only thing I like about Mido is I love it when a footballer is richer than so rich that he doesn't have to play football, because he was an Egyptian prince, wasn't he, or something? So I like the fact that he would go to football and everybody would be loaded and he wouldn't have to play football and still be even more loaded than everyone else. I like the thought of somebody just playing because why not?
He was so highly rated as a kid when he was at Ajax and that. But yeah, I think he enjoyed the lifestyle that went with it and that. Generally, he was shit at Spurs. I loved it when he ran in front of all your lot at the Park Lane when you were accusing him of being a terrorist and that. That was nice. Yeah. But yeah, he was shit, really, man. I didn't get that Spurs sold Canute instead of him. I wasn't happy about it. But we needed him because Raziak was in reserve, right? So he was okay. He was okay. But then Berbatov came in and people realised what a number 9 really should look like.
Yeah.
He was all right. I remember he scored at Arsenal in the League Cup semi-final, which got us through to extra time. And we lost in extra time, typically. But he was so rubbish, man. He scored and then he nearly scored again to win it. And the whole of our end was singing about Mido being on drugs and that. It was like someone must have injected him in something. Suddenly he was a man possessed. And every now and then he'd have a worldie.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't often. In terms of Barnsley, no, I can't mention them without mentioning that goal. It's impossible. So in terms of other memories of them, I remember when I wasn't there, but when Calderwood equalised against them, and it was a relegation 6-pointer late in the 97-98 season. I remember watching it on a screen at Tottenham, being projected in on the big screens. And Ramon Vega got sent off for us after we'd equalised, and it did us a massive favour. Read into what you want there about Vega.
Jimmy Mac and Cheese, how far back do you think when talking about how big a club is? 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? How long do they have to fall out of form to stop being thought of as a big club? He's thinking about clubs like Ipswich and that kind of thing. Sheffield Wednesday.
I'm very conscious of what I say here because I know we've got a bit of Ipswich following. Ipswich have never been a big club. Mm-hmm. They've had very good spells like in the 60s and obviously the late 70s and the 80s had a very good team. We've never been a big club, neither of Norwich. Burnley, similar. You can say, oh, yeah, they had great teams in like the 50s and the 60s. But I've said this before and I'm going to upset this lot as well. I know Claret FPL is going to be listed. Burnley's a village, right? It's amazing that they're even in the Premier League. So I think a lot of it does equate to a little bit on location. I think size, average attendances. In terms of how far do you go back, prime example to talk about is Chelsea. We spoke about this when we did the throwback on Norwich the other week. Chelsea's average attendance in the first Premier League season was 17,000. Like they were Mickey Mouse. They weren't even the third biggest club in London.
Yeah.
So they were well behind Tottenham and Arsenal. And then you could argue it was sort of between yourselves, Chelsea and Crystal Palace in terms of who was next. Chelsea having a period in the early 70s and late 60s never did nothing. So they're obviously, but Chelsea now are a huge football club because of what they've done over the last 25 years. That's over a real sustained period where you can no longer argue it. Whereas take someone like Manchester City, I would have always referred to as a big club because they went down into the 3rd division and were still getting 30,000 in the ground. That's a big club to me.
Yeah.
Others have had spells. I would never say Nottingham Forest were never a big club in my opinion, but they've got 2 European Cups. So how do you measure that? I think it's modern influences influence that. Huddersfield won three titles in a row in the 30s. Can you call them a big club? No, of course you can't. So I think you have to kind of equate it to where you're at now. I would still say, for example, Leeds are still a big club because of the support they have, etc. One of the things I always said about like Celtic up north, if you want to bring Scotland back into it briefly, if they ever came down here, they would get their arse handed to them. But after a while, they would do very well because they were a monstrous football club in terms of their global support, etc. Everyone will have different opinions on that. I tend to go by fan base and obviously trophies.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, but I never like the conversation of big club, small club, because it is so arbitrary and doesn't really mean anything.
Newcastle haven't won anything for 50 years. They're a big football club.
Of course. I mean, still to not win anything for that long and still pack out 50,000.
You can't just do it on trophies, but then others will say, well, you can't call them a big club because they haven't won anything for 50 years. And I
just don't like the conversation.
At that point, it's difficult to argue because the likes of Ipswich and Forest and all those others obviously have won trophies in that period. So it'll come down to personal preference. I would do it over generally fan base is the first thing I think of.
FPL Drew, the Athletic FPL Drew, hope you're doing all right. Few quick fire questions. Who's a better dribbler, Eden Hazard or Neymar?
Neymar.
That
didn't come obviously for some reason.
Neymar. But Hazard will get his moment in a question a little bit later on. If you could bring back any one player from the 90s or 2000s to sign for Spurs or West Ham, who would it be? Any player. It doesn't have to be an ex-Spurs player or ex-West Ham player. Any player from the 90s or 2000s.
Brazilian Ronaldo.
Yeah. And again, he hasn't said Premier League player. I'll be honest with you. I thought this was a guy that had played in the Premier League. So I first thought of Wayne Rooney. I wanted Wayne Rooney.
It's only noughties though, mate.
No, 90s and noughties.
Okay.
Yeah. And if not, it was Wayne Rooney or Alan Shearer, and I'll take either. Alan Shearer just scored so many goals. Absolute goal machine was Alan Shearer. So I think Alan Shearer or Wayne Rooney would be the two that I'd happily have at West Ham. But there's plenty more.
If it was Premier League, then I'd take Cristiano Ronaldo because there's no way I can take Thierry Henry.
Flapjack FPL. Maybe this is one for the people's poll tomorrow as a little added addendum. My question is, what's happening in Belarus?
Mate, what word did you just say? Addendum.
My question.
Addendum.
Yeah, a little add-on, a little Brucey bonus. Let's call it tomorrow. We might touch on Belarus.
Every day's a school day, kids. Well, Belarus. Look, we're not going to lie to you, right? Spain was not meant to win that people's poll.
No, I was looking for Belarus to win. I was looking for Scotland to win.
But we'll do a good podcast on it. Belarus obviously went in because they're still fucking playing. Unbelievably. Yeah. They're still playing. But to cut a long story short, essentially the fans are starting to stop go, basically. But they are still playing and there's not much sign of it getting shut down. And obviously what I think we would have investigated is how and why is it still going on?
Mad. It's a madness.
You can, if you're desperate, catch Belarusian games on YouTube.
Interesting.
I'm not desperate.
Nah. Blades Attack, our friend Brian. If money was no object, where would you most like to visit and would football be involved?
Would have been Istanbul in May, but we lost to Leipzig, and then the coronavirus pandemic happened. Where would I most like to visit? For me, I always relate it. I like your shout on Japan, by the way. I think it'd be an amazing place to go to. But it's related to football. It's Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires. I want to go to Bali, but if I go to Bali, there's a real reason I'm not going to Bali. because it would be the end of Planet FPL. It would be the end of everything because I just think I would never leave. I feel like if I land in Bali, I'll just stay there for the rest of my life.
What's so good about it?
I think weather, quality of life. It's a place that's untouched. Fresh fruit and veg every day. Cheap to live. Like what you need to survive and live well, money wise, would be a pittance compared to what we need to live and survive in London. People are friendly. Just from what people tell me, it's got a real spiritual, just happy vibe in that place. Good energy. So yeah, that's why I'm not going. I'm scared that if I get there and I'll be like, this is the good life, I'm not leaving here.
Would you miss West Ham?
Come back? Nah. If I was in Bali, I don't think I'd miss West Ham one bit, honestly. But yeah, it's on the list of where I would go and what have you. But Japan is up there as well. FPL Tractor, I've got an answer to this one as well. I'm interested in yours. Which is funnier, a ref stacking it, a fan getting hit by crap shots in the warm-up, or an amused pitch invader who avoids all the stewards? What funny things do you miss from football?
Pitch invasions really depends on time and place.
Yeah, I mean, comedy ones. I think pitch invader every time when they're weaving it out and they can't.
When it's 4-0 and the game's done, it's all right. It's a fucking nonsense when it's like 2 minutes to go of a Champions League game and it's 1-1 or something. It's like, get off the pitch, seriously.
Yeah.
So there's a time and a place for that. Everyone likes the ref getting it, don't they?
I'm going to go with the pitch invader who avoids the stewards. It's always.
I think if you had to watch 5 minutes of any one of the three solid in a row, it would be refs getting hit. So I would vote for that.
Right, Jack Shepherd asked, "Would love to hear both sides. I would love to hear you discuss both sides of furloughing. The social media has been quite aggressive and contagious, but obviously that each club's finances are different, and quite a lot are getting slaughtered. And I've said it before, like they're not doing anything wrong or illegal. It's the moral side of things that they're getting pilloried for. What's the opposite of it is that people don't get paid and they get fired and let go. So obviously,
it's not the case for Premier League clubs, though, is it?
Yeah. So
they don't need government money, man. None of them do. Burnley, Bournemouth don't need government money to pay staff for 2 months, man. Stop it. I mean, if it goes on further, then it's a different conversation. None of these 20 Premier League clubs need money to pay furloughed staff for 2 months. It's a fucking nonsense.
You're probably right, but the reason I'm hesitant is I don't know. I don't know their finances. So you are more than likely right.
All right, let's put it a different way. Do Tottenham need it?
I don't think so. You made 40 million last year, so I don't think so.
No, it's a nonsense, mate.
But at the same time, it's important to point out they're not doing anything illegal. So if anyone's thinking, is the discussion about them breaking the rules? They're not. They're just using a system that's out there.
Can we now, though, and will the government start attacking bigger people now that the players have stood up and are doing the right thing, which I think you and I certainly always suspected that they would? Are they going to go for the proper billionaires in this country and that?
They should. Income inequality is one of the biggest problems facing society. There's bankers who are making as much money as ever before. Traders and investors are making as much money when the market drops as when it goes up, right? The shrewd ones are betting on the dips in the market and are making more money from that than they ever were when it was going up. They're not getting a windfall tax or anything along those lines. So they should. You're right, they should try and figure out a way, but, capitalism and all that.
I have a question for you, Serge. And it's football related. When we start going to football matches again, do you think there'll be more respect for players?
No. For a little while. And it's a broader question, right? A lot of people are saying that this coronavirus has changed the world in so many ways. People have discovered working from home is a possibility, and that they don't need to travel as much. And you're talking about this respect for players. Actually, we've noticed it. I think the respect for the NHS we'll come back onto might increase. But I think we'll very, very quickly go back to the way things were, where everybody's going into an office every day. maybe not fully, but it won't be a case of the world has changed into this new world order where everyone's working from home and then suddenly there's respect for players. There will be for a couple of games. The second team start losing, the terraces are going to turn and people are going to get on players' back straight away. So I think there'll be a very short-lived spike. Things like the NHS, for example, I mean, we live in a country that so much of the NHS is full of immigrants working within the NHS, whether it be nurses and doctors and stuff. I'd like to think that will change. The respect for the NHS will change a lot because the NHS has historically been bashed a lot, where people go into the hospital, unfortunately die. People will blame the doctors and the nurses and what have you. I think that will change.
Do you think the government's missing a bit of a step there in a little bit? Because obviously the NHS is obviously, and everybody within it is obviously getting lauded for the amazing work that they're doing.
I mean, it's incredible.
But a lot of the media message is very much, I saw even Prince William saying this yesterday about, England really comes together at times of crisis and stuff like that. But it does feel very kind of English patriotic. Is the actual message getting out there? Because the NHS in itself, I think to an outsider, feels like a very English thing. And I mean, how many people actually working within it are actually English?
I don't know. I don't know the number. I honestly don't know the number.
10, 20%?
No, higher than that. I'd say like at least 50 to 60, but a large proportion are not. And a lot of people that do vital jobs that are not frontline, cleaning and what have you, back office stuff, are not because they'll take a lot of low paid work. And it's incredible. But what does it even mean to be English? I think the NHS is definitely an English institution because a lot of other countries don't have centralised healthcare like we do. And we should laud it. But I think we are much more understanding of how multicultural that as an institution is. But I don't think the respect for the players will stick around because as soon as we start losing games, people will start jumping on their backs, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it depends what the first game is, isn't it? I mean, first game is North London Derby. You throw that
mate. It's true. We've got a couple more serious questions here. Mr. Hindsight, FPL in hindsight. Oh, I clicked and I went away from the question, James. Give us a second. We'll just jump straight back to it.
1.
Oh,
3.
Clicking on too much at the same time. Which clubs in the Premier League or world will be financially hampered to the level that they may need to sell some players in the upcoming transfer window? I don't think. I mean, players come and go anyway.
It's more. We spoke about this already. It's not so much the selling; it's the non-buying. I think is what you're going to see quite a bit of. I think you'll see exploitation of markets where there is the necessity to sell. So there will still be a buyer's market, but I think people will. There's already been talk of potential issues financially in sort of some of the South American leagues and that. I think people will go and the Premier League clubs will go and exploit that. If they can buy it cheaper than the value, that's where the money will get transferred. So you will still get buying, but I think that these kind of Neymar moves, I don't want to talk about it now because we'll talk about Neymar tomorrow, I'm certain. But these 200 million moves, who's going to pay them other than like a United? Unless, I mean, tell you what is interesting is another conversation is obviously Manchester City. And what happens if FFP just gets completely relaxed? Could they then go, right, we're going to spend 500 million this summer?
Maybe. A lot of that money comes from Abu Dhabi. I don't know how much Abu Dhabi is affected by oil, but if you look at the price of oil used to get up to $60, $70, $80 a barrel, even topped 100 a lot. Now they were selling it at $15 a barrel. So how much wealth there is there that they'll be willing to chuck 500 million into football? I wouldn't be so surprised if they didn't want to throw that much money around, but that's also a question for another day.
Possible that.
Yeah. We've got a question in from Rich FPL, which I'd like to suggest we stick in the people's poll potentially. Quick fire. Best player to play in the Premier League for each of the 20 clubs that are currently in the Premier League.
Yeah, that one might even be a bit long for a people's poll.
Yeah.
Never mind a question on this podcast.
Yeah, let's have we'll potentially do a special in the next few weeks around that when we've got a little bit of time. We got Pirlo's pen at FPL Pirlo. Biggest wasted talent in the Premier League since 2010.
That's easy. And I'm going to let you answer that.
Who do you have in mind? I haven't thought of anyone yet.
I mean, if you don't say the same answer as me, there's something wrong with you.
Wasted talent since 2010.
Yeah.
Which club are you going for?
Yours.
Wasted talent?
Jack, man, come on.
Oh, well, then he's really at Arsenal wasted talent.
Well, yeah, but he's been a wasted talent for the whole decade, isn't he?
Yeah. I thought of this more, okay. Yeah, as a wasted talent, I thought more of who was a purchase that never delivered.
Jack Wilshere.
Yeah, but we didn't pay anything for him, so I don't know.
No, he's not on 100 grand a week or whatever. What's he on, Serge?
Yeah, no, I don't think he's the biggest wasted talent. He's a waste, complete waste. But I think there might have been bigger waste of talent. No,
Name one.
I haven't thought about it, but
let me
we'll
know.
come back to it. Yeah.
Let me know.
We'll stick it out on Twitter. I mean, there's no doubt he'd be well up there, but I would need to think about. He was already a wasted talent at Arsenal, right?
Yeah, I'm not judging him on the West Ham period. I'm saying,
yeah.
when did he get into sort of? When did he have the loan at Bolton? That was like right on about 2010, I think, wasn't it?
Mm.
And obviously, look, he's had some very, very good periods at Arsenal. The reason I dig him out on that is because
he could have been.
Well, when I see that kid play for Arsenal at 19, I thought he was going to be dominating England's midfield for this whole decade that's gone. So it's not even just digging him out because he played for them and that. This guy should have been one of the best midfielders in Europe. Yeah. And he can't.
And you can tell he's got just that natural eye for a ball, and he is a talent-wise, yeah, no doubt about it. He didn't deliver. You're right. Let's pay those pen again, James. Would you be happy with the reported 200 million Kane to United? You'd take 200 million, right? You would be happy with it, but you'd take the 200 million.
I don't think there's a fee on it, but I think 200 million. There will be a conversation that says, "What do you think?"
The Blue City. If you had to wear a hat all of the time, you can take it off when sleeping. No, does it say you can't take it off when sleeping? No, you can take it off when sleeping. What sort of hat would it be?
Be a cap, wouldn't it?
Cap's all right, but
you're always in them
now. Reasonable now. I like beanies, slouch beanies, but they don't always suit me. So I don't know if that's. I prefer them for comfort, but I don't mind a cap. And the reason I'm wearing a cap now is because my hair is a mess, mate. I think we're going to see some interesting people's heads and hairstyles with this lockdown, where people are not able to get out and get their hair cut. It's all right for you. You can do your little trim.
Oh yeah, I got a clippers. I'm all right. Yeah.
We have Josh Fosh. Who was better with the ladies before finding their misses?
Well, we don't really know. I mean, yeah,
I know.
But Suj, you were the prettier guy.
So, this is a podcast for another day, James. Mid-20s, at 26 years old, I had a mate who, I hope he listens to the show regularly enough. He lives out in the Middle East now. He built my first website for me for the packaging company. And we became mates. We'd been mates for about a year. And he said, look, there's these guys I know who own a speed dating business. We could take it over and we could launch online dating. This is 2006, give or take. So from 2006 to when I met my missus, when I was 28, 29, so a good 3 or 4 years, I ran a singles events company and an online dating business. So I was probably at a singles event once to minimum 2 times per week for 2 whole years. Trust me, running singles events and organising that and owning online dating business, it's like having an unfair advantage to say who is better with the ladies. I own the singles company. It's too easy. It's like yeah, having a tap to turn on. So no.
I was probably there every week and I weren't single.
Those were the days, the mid 2000s. So watch this space. Maybe we should launch, TalkSport. When I listen, they have their own dating website, TalkSport Singles. They advertise it sometimes on the radio. We should launch our own, mate. FPL Singles. We talked about this maybe once before. We're going to do it. So there you go.
I'll let you have that one, Sidge, but I had my moments.
I'm sure, no doubt.
Definitely when I worked in the boozing industry as well. And I'd be locking up the pub. You're right there, love. You want to stay for one more?
That's a nice touch. Angus MacPhail, right now, if you could sign one player from Barcelona other than Messi and one player from Real for your club, who would you sign?
Oh, gosh. Not Messi. Difficult.
You know the new 17-year-old kid,
Fatty, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take him because I heard Guillaume Balaguer say he's good enough already to get into any team and play for the national team and everything else. Just take him, and you'd make a good profit on him as well because he's only 17 years old. You could keep him for 5 years and sell him for 3 times as much. But he looks a player.
Certainly does. Off Madrid, I'm sure everyone would expect me to say Bale. I'd rather have Modric back for a year or two.
Really, I'll take Hazard. But obviously,
it's what I'd need position-wise in the short term. Is a midfielder.
Based on who I've seen and what I know, I think Eden Hazard. I mean, he's struggling a bit with his injuries and what have you. But I mean, Hazard is unplayable sometimes.
It's Sonny's position. I'm not desperate for it.
I think any of their 11 will get into our team. So, but I'll take Eden Hazard.
Other than the 200 million forward up front, by the way.
Yeah. Right, Angus MacPhail, we've talked about Scotland. He said, could there be threats of legal action and resignations and all sorts in Scotland? We did talk about what's going to happen in Scotland. The story's not finished, I think is.
No, I think it's one really to watch in the coming days. It's interesting. And obviously, if it does get voided, there will be other clubs in I think particularly in sort of League 2, League 1, might be smelling stuff and going.
You see that door opening?
Oh, yeah. Hey!
So my son's just walked in for the people listening to the audio. He is only 6. He is desperate to have his own podcast, James.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. No, you're not. You just want to be on our podcast, do you? Okay, well, you sit here nicely while we get through the rest of the questions. We've got a question here from James Bradford that's a little interesting. We talked about furlough a little bit earlier. Do you think transfer restrictions should be placed on clubs who furloughed their staff during the pandemic when the transfer window opened? It doesn't seem right about buying a player for millions of pounds, but then asking the government for money.
It's just a beast, isn't it? I saw Gary Neville saying that. I'm not actually in agreement with that.
Yeah, I mean, what you choose to spend your money on in a free market economy is what you choose to spend your money on. I do think that rather than relating it to that, it's the profit element, isn't it? It's why if you have cash and are profitable and are furloughed players, then you should potentially have a sanction around transfer fees or what have you. And don't forget, the transfer fees are not the only element of what clubs pay out that are millions and millions of pounds. Agents' fees absolutely take the biscuit, mate. There was something that I read in a quarter that a club spent 14 million on salaries for playing staff. There was 14 million on agents' fees as well. So no, it's the profit element. If a club's making a lot of profit, and not all clubs do make profit, some don't make profit, and they furloughed people, yes, there should be some kind of level. And that's not just for football. I think all companies, if there's companies making millions and millions of pounds of profit and they've had to furlough their staff, then it's different. If they haven't, then they can't.
I think if we could change something financially in football right now, a lot of us would like to start with agents.
Oh, yeah. Now, Glenn, this is a difficult one to answer. I don't really watch enough Championship football. You might have a bit of insight. Assuming they get promoted, how do you think Leeds could get on next season in the Premier League? I predict a top half finish.
Very capable would be my answer.
They've got the financial resource.
It's not just that, it's the style as well and how they play. We've seen Wolves come up, Sheffield United come up and adopt styles that Premier League sides have not been used to and do very well. So I think Leeds, yeah.
But Bielsa is also, I was going to say volatile.
But I would add to that as well, just as capable of going straight back down as well, I would say.
Yeah, that's why I'm really wary about it.
It wouldn't be like, I mean, Sheffield United, most people obviously thought were going to go down, but then you had laughable people tipping them down and going, Jason Cundy on TalkSport, a fucking melon, excuse my French, who
I've got headphones on, mate. It's all right.
He said a couple of weeks before pre-season, didn't he? Oh, yeah, well, they line up with a solid, basic, flat back four. And you're thinking, so you've never watched them, so don't comment on it. But, yeah, we thought they'd be in trouble. Although you and I both said pre-season all the time, didn't we? We think they'll stay up. Neither of us thought we'd do what they have done.
No.
But Wolves the year before, there was a big feeling that they could finish top half. I wouldn't have that feeling about Leeds that I had about Wolves.
No. And what about West Brom? Because they obviously look like they're coming up as well. Bilic and what have you got Premier League experience. I think they'll build themselves a good squad as well that will be built for the Premier League.
Both will be well primed to do well.
Yeah.
The clubs at the bottom of the Premier League are getting stronger.
FPL teach mode. We've answered this a little. Kane will undoubtedly improve United. If he did go, how much would he go for? And what do you think Spurs would do with the money? Well, we're talking about 150 to 200 million. What would you do with the money? You've got Troy Parrott waiting, ready to break into the first team.
Yeah, it's possible that Spurs wouldn't spend any of it.
Yeah. In the current climate, you wouldn't surprise you, would it? It's kind of one of those.
Obviously, spend some of it. I wouldn't genuinely expect them to spend all of it.
It's one of those where if you spend 20 to 30 million, you're taking a gamble. So you'd almost rather either spend 100 and get a proven goal scorer if someone became available, or don't take a gamble and risk and waste it on 2 or 3 20 or 30 million pound players.
Remember as well that obviously Spurs do have history of selling for very big and then spending the money. So obviously sold Bale for 80 million and bought 7 players. Now it's largely classified that those 7 players failed, but you could make the case that in Eriksen and Lamela, just those two, that, and maybe just Eriksen, that they certainly got something back from the investment of those 7 buys. I mean, Eriksen we bought for 11 million and got great service out of for 5, 6 years.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, but generally, Spurs' scattergun approach to buy it and on the whole failed.
Yeah.
And they'll be aware of that. So I think what you would more likely see is solid purchases going in, maybe 2 buyers at sort of around about 60 million or so. But it could be that would give Troy Parrott the opening if it happens in 14 months or whenever. And that would be it.
FPL Panda, what do you think of the current plan to scrap the season in the Scottish Premier League? We've talked about that. Do you think there'll be financial backup for either of these? That, I mean, they surely must be. There clearly is going to have to be, isn't there?
I don't have the same support up there as there is down here. I mean, if you look at, say,
the amount of money they'll need is going to be less as well.
The Premier League clubs have put together the 125 million package that they've already forwarded the solidarity papers. How does that work up there? What, the Rangers and Celtic just take 20 quid out of their back pocket?
But then the Dundee chairman was saying that the lost gate receipts and lost income for all of the lower league clubs combined was going to be between £4 and £5 million. The scale is just so much smaller. It's unbelievable. It's like non-league stuff here almost, the kind of numbers you're talking about.
What lower league Scottish football? I would say, and this will upset some people, that those at the bottom of the Scottish Premier League would finish about mid-table in League One. And I think if you're going down further to bottom of Scottish Championship, the Scottish League One, yeah, you're talking National League quality and possibly worse.
We've got a question coming in from Joe90, Joe90_Squire. Where do you see Spurs in 10 years' time? E.g., this is all aimed at you, James. As a United fan, they knew there was going to be a post-Fergie slump, that it was inevitable. I don't know if it necessarily was. The squad wasn't great when Fergie left, to be fair. The clamour from fans now is for a reset of values, which Ole is starting to deliver, and I agree with him on that as well. Who will deliver this for Spurs? Is it Mourinho? Is it Levy? What's going to happen to Spurs?
No one at that club now. You're talking about in 10 years' time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Levy's been in charge now.
Well, who will start the process?
You got to remember, it's not his club, but Levy's been in charge now for a good 18 odd years, basically. Is he going to do another 10? I don't know. I feel like with this whole thing with ENIC, I wouldn't be surprised if the feelers are out to potentially consider selling the football club. I mean that. So where the club stands in 10 years, I think that it'll be in a very solid position. I think I think Spurs are probably in for a very, very tough 5 years or so. But I think where will we be in 10 years? We will be regularly in the top 4. The power of the football club is going to be massive.
And James, that's exactly an hour and a half. I'm looking at my timer on there now, which says 1 hour, 29 minutes, 53 seconds.
That's some going, boy.
We haven't done you put the tweet out with the questions and then you retweeted the tweet with the questions for any that wanted any more questions.
Yeah.
7 people replied to that as well. And that's going to be our Fergie time. Let's do them super quick fire.
Well, you're going to do them as well.
Why not?
I didn't put the question in the right bloody place.
Well, we'll just give these guys a shout out. Bobby Love, he says, guess the footballer. He's put some emojis there. The Sunshine, Tent, and I don't even know what the other one is. Sun Tent. I don't know. It says, guess the footballer. Everybody jump into that. But he says, thanks for all the good work, keeping him entertained on the journey. Our friend Gary is my cap player. Gary, hope you're well. Would you take 200 million for Kane? We've already answered that as well.
No.
A lot saying he's the modern version of Shearer.
No, I wouldn't. There's not a price on Kane where you go, yeah, not for me. It means too much for the supporters there, but I would accept it. And I'd accept it for Kane. Like, if Kane wants to go, I accept that.
Mark Dorney jumped on that and said, as a Spurs supporter, he reckons that it is decent business, but that he feels he won't go yet, at least one more season before he reassesses. And I think he's probably right, especially if you manage to get back in the Champions League. Benjamin J. Miller, hope you're well, Ben. Is this an enforced break? As this is an enforced break for football, what do you usually do to pass the time in the off-season? Going back to your Bury podcast, is there any Prem clubs at risk of going bust? And who's finding it tougher working remotely out of both of you? Well, I'm not going to work. You see, my son came in and interrupted. There's no way I could do every day at home. It'd be carnage, mate. What do you do in the off-season? We don't really, because it's only a 6-7 week period, and FPL opens 3 or 4 weeks before the season starts, at which point everybody starts planning. There is very little downtime. Like, this is probably longer we've had without football than ever before.
Yeah, I just keep them busy.
Yeah,
what do I normally do? Fire up Football Manager or whatever. It's different for me now with a kid and that. In my younger years, I probably would have just gone out drunk for a month. I'd have been speed dating and stuff with such.
Yeah, there we go. I'm all for. I'll be honest with you. I'm family time and just that, like, quiet family time. I don't need anything big and outrageous. Sitting in the garden, kicking the ball around, eating a bit of food. That's it. Simple life, mate. Simple life. But I did enjoy, and I am enjoying, the more and more stuff we do that's like around the fringes of football or non-FPL related is something that's more interesting. I just find the research side of it interesting, listening to the different bits of podcasts, bringing it all together in a simple format for a lot of our listeners that don't have the time to do the research or are even aware about certain situations like the Scottish stuff. I do enjoy that, and I'm really looking forward to doing more of that, definitely. Right, here we go. Jeff Holt, our friend Jeff, who has put 3 questions in. You're going to get the final word on this show, Jeff. Your club has been authorised to buy any player in the world, money no object. However, you must also sell them a player with the same surname initial from your current squad. Oof.
Neymar and Ndombele.
That's not bad. Would you take Neymar as the one player that you'd buy?
No, I just couldn't think of anyone beginning with M.
All right. I'm going to pick 2 midfielders as well. Neymar, and you can have Noble. We've had him for long enough. He'd definitely be a fair trade. Neymar for Noble. This one's easy for me. You've been given the ability to guarantee 1 Spurs and 1 West Ham player stays injury-free for a whole season. Who would you choose? Jack Wilshere, job done. If we could have Jack Wilshere fit for an entire season, that would be fantastic. I'd take that every time.
I think I might say Harry Kane.
Yeah, I mean, for the more recent seasons, I mean, he is basically the golden boy. And Jeff's final question. As manager of Spurs and West Ham, you can choose one of 3 things to happen over the course of a season. 25 clean sheets, 4 players to score 20-plus goals, or the whole season to be guaranteed injury-free, or every VAR review to be given in your team's favour? Which would you choose? I'm not interested. I'm not
Fuck
interested in
VAR.
cheats.
No, it's definitely the 4 players, 20
4 players to
goals.
score 20 goals. I was going to say
that's
exactly
80
the same.
goals.
Oh, my headphones have come out, but the audio is going to carry on recording.
That's
I would say 4 players to score 20 goals every single time. Injuries are going to happen.
Is it league goals as well?
Couldn't care less. We haven't had a player score 20 goals in the league season for 20 years, mate.
Mind
Give
you,
me 4 in one season. Come on.
25 clean sheets is going to get you very close to the league title, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't score enough goals for that, so no.
No,
chance,
you'd still draw 0-0, wouldn't you? You'd
Probably.
lose the other 13 1-0.
Yeah,
you'd still go down.
I'm taking the 4 players, and so is James. But Jeff, thank you for those 3 questions. We appreciate the time that goes into even typing them out, because it's work, and you put a lot in for the community. Woo! 1 hour 35 minutes, James. If you are a listener that stuck with us throughout, we love you. Thank you very, very much. Split it up into 2 otherwise. But I did know, seeing the Twitter questions and the stuff we had to talk about, that it was going to be a full-on show. And it was. Been fun.
Good. Thanks, mate. Enjoyed that.
Yeah, no worries. We did toy about pre-recording another podcast today. Nah, let's leave that. I'm going out to have a beer. I'm going out to have a beer in the garden now, so let's leave it at that. If you have listened all the way through and you did enjoy it, please do share the podcast with all your FPL football-loving friends, family, frenemies, anybody that you do know. The more listeners we get, the less money we make somehow for some reason. We do it for the love of it, and we do enjoy it. Interact with us. James is on Twitter at Planet FPL Pod. I'm there at Sujin Shah. You hit the notification bell, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter, you'll know when James is going with his live streams. And every time a podcast is released, he does tweet about it. And in between, you don't actually bombard Twitter with a bunch of nonsense. So, you're not going to get overly bombarded.
I don't know. Sometimes I do. No, I try not to.
Yeah, you'll get bombarded. You'll get the notifications as and when content is coming out. Other than that, thanks for joining us. We do hope you're all staying safe. We do hope you've had a nice Easter weekend full of chocolate eggs, and we'll be back at you tomorrow with the People's Poll. Ciao for now.
Be nice to each other. Cue music, man. Sharp.
You know what I did? I nearly ended the meeting rather than